Creamer Media's Mining Weekly is speaking to Reginald Demana, the head of mining, metals, infrastructure and energy of the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa. Reginald, thanks so much for chatting to us. Mining Weekly would dearly like your opinion on a series of things, but to start off with, what should South Africa do to ensure that we make the best of the current mining commodities upturn?
For the current commodity boom, really, everybody is talking about a couple of things. One, we're talking about logistics. How can we get our logistics infrastructure working to maximize export of commodities? And that brings in partnerships between industry as well as Transnet Freight Rail. It also brings into play partnerships with Transnet, but on the port side. So the new Transnet National Port Authority, which is going to be a standalone subsidiary in a couple of months or years. So those partnerships are important to unlock the logistics infrastructure. So that's very important for us as a country, not just for the current commodity boom, but going into the long term. We have to find a solution and bring in private investment into that area. The second one is really around, if you take it back now to the operations themselves, there it's about regulatory certainty that people need. It's all about the speed of processing the various regulatory licenses and permits. You will have heard people talking about the times that it takes to turn around an application for prospecting right, for mining right, water use license, and so on and so forth. There's been a lot of improvement between the DMRE working with the Minerals Council to try and improve on those issues led by the DG in the DMRE. So that's important. And then you then say at the level of individual companies, there hasn't been a lot of investment into new supply. Of course, companies will cite regulatory environment, they will cite infrastructure. But the other side of it has been the security of energy supply, which talks to renewable energy programs, which talks to fixing ESCOM, and making sure that as a country, we have that reliable, consistent supply of energy on the back of which long-term investments, particularly of a long-term capital return nature, can be made. So in summary, I'm saying three things. One, security of energy supply. Two, the regulatory environment to fast-track the processing of such applications. Three, unlocking the logistic infrastructure so that it runs smoothly, consistently, and we can increase the volumes that we export.
What can be done to ensure the longevity of the industry by promoting exploration in general, but particularly greenfield exploration?
Yes, exploration is very important, and I think it is also one of the work streams that the Minerals Council and the DMRE have. And at the heart of it is about the cadastral system. Here, Martin, we're talking about a system where we can record the various land parcel ownership, who owns what and where. What is the status of the various mineral rights? Who is applying for what and when is it being processed? So the transparency about our mineral ownership, where it is, as well as the availability of exploration data, championed by, of course, the Council for Geosciences, such that if some exploration was done on a parcel of land, the right holder abandoned that for whatever reason, somebody sitting anywhere in the world will be able to access it online, see that it's available, and decide that they may want to invest, take a chance, and take it further. Also, it means that in changing commodity cycles, when prices one day become favorable, somebody might decide to review the portfolio and what's available in the country and decide to apply and invest. So a transparent cadastral system is key. Secondly, is this whole idea of how do we put investment into exploration? Do we bring into play specific funds, exploration funds, which by their very nature will be equity? Because when you invest in exploration, you may not get your money out. More often than not, you don't really get your money out because the hit rate from what you explore to a mine is very low. We as the IDC have been toying around with the idea of an exploration fund. We are talking to the DMRE about supporting such an initiative. We're talking to, obviously, our shareholder department, which is the DTIC, about giving us facilitator status so that that fund must have BE credentials. And we can then go to the Minerals Council as well as the industry in general and get funding. So we crowd this funding from seeded by the IDC. And then we can invest into exploration. Of course, one of the attractive things, if such a fund had the credentials, is you might attract ESD funds from the companies. So that annual spend they are required to have, if it's got B credentials on the other hand, it's also going into funding exploration, becomes long-term beneficial for the industry in general. And of course, what is it in for the company apart from the B credits? It means that when more deposits are developed and are discovered, they also have a first right to bid for such projects without necessarily spending a lot of time and resources on such development. And we think that's absolutely key. We're trying to champion that as the IDC.
What metals and minerals should be targeted by our exploration activities and our explorers?
There's probably two broad categories, Martin. So the one category is battery minerals. And here you're talking about things that go into batteries, your vanadium, your manganese, your copper, your tin, your nickel, and many others like that. So battery minerals, very important as a category of minerals we need to be looking at. And of course, South Africa has an abundance of some of those. Then secondly, there's a different category, and that's probably a category which backs, the hydrogen economy. In the main there, you're talking about PGMs. We have a significant holding in PGM ourselves as IDC. The country has abundant resources and reserves in PGMs. We do think that we can really serve as a champion in that space to develop our hydrogen economy. So again, the greener minerals that go into batteries, as well as the PGMs mainly for the hydrogen economy.
And what opportunities are presenting themselves now that are really advantageous about going green environmentally?
There are quite a lot of benefits. Of course, one, we talk about decarbonization. Reducing your own carbon footprint as a company, as a country. And that's why we all are really behind renewable energy projects. There's also another angle, hydrogen plays into that. Again, it's reducing the extent of carbon footprint of different companies as well as the country. There's also another area which is about when you have things such as steel, which are energy-intensive production processes. When you have things such as cement, which are energy-intensive areas of production, the more you bring in renewable energy, more efficient energy production, whether it's through embedded generation or not, and make them greener. Overall, the country is better for it, and you are decarbonizing. There's also another area of how do you replace diesel, mostly in mining operations, especially the guys who use diesel in all sorts of things, the most important of which will be trucking or haulage. Anglo is leading in that area with its hydrogen trucks that it's piloting in Mogalakwena. I'm sure they will roll them out to the likes of Kumba and other areas. But of course, increasingly, how do you replace diesel with hydrogen? I'm sure some people will be trying to capture gases out of their own manufacturing processes to convert such gases or steam into energy generation. So overall, we are cleaning the environment, we're reducing the carbon footprint, and we're also becoming more efficient, and because that increases margins. But there's something else, Martin, which I think it was first raised, at least for me, by Sibanye and Neil Froneman. And he was saying, in the very near future, we are going to start seeing European countries, maybe many other Western countries as well, saying to us, if you selling products that have not been produced by clean energy, i.e. you producing using coal energy, your product is not designated as clean. You can't sell into our markets. So it's a market access issue. In other words, we are coming to a future where products that are deemed to be produced from dirty energy will not have access to the market. So even if we have abundant resources here, the world will leave us behind. So we need to catch up for the sake of access to market. So it's not only efficiency, it's not only about cleaning our environment, it's a market access issue. And that I thought, and I think we are moving very fast towards that future.
What role can South Africa and Southern Africa play in the hydrogen economy? Is there any big advantages that we have, with renewables, etc., that we could play not only a domestic role, but a bigger role globally, perhaps?
Yes, most definitely. So let me walk you through how I think about hydrogen at the IDC. So I look at it through the value chain of what we can do. And this is really a story about what the IDC does. And I want to take you through that with a focus on hydrogen. So South Africa, we have an abundant resource and reserve base of platinum, or PGMs in general. We mine that. That platinum must find its way into fuel cells and electrolyzers. We have an opportunity to build a manufacturing base in this country to support that. So the production of fuel cells, which also increases demand for our platinum. Thirdly, in the production of hydrogen itself, of course, we have an opportunity to serve the plants using our abundant water resources everywhere we have to set up the plant to produce this hydrogen using the electrolyzers that would have been coming from our own platinum. But of course, we have abundant resources of wind and sun, which means the hydrogen we produce can be green hydrogen because we are using renewable energy for that. So from mining of platinum to setting up manufacturing capacity for fuel cells, electrolyzers, to setting up manufacturing capacity for the production of hydrogen, using renewable energy as an input and therefore producing green hydrogen as a value chain is very attractive to me and to the IDC. But lastly, when this hydrogen is there, what do we do with it? Two channels. One, we can export it. So there are many other advanced countries which are already, I think, ahead of us in terms of what they can use it. Europe, in particular, Germany. So we can export to such countries in the near term. In fact, from a logistics perspective, we're talking about developing the Northern Cape Buge port. I'm sure you know about that, which can be used as a base for exporting hydrogen to European countries. But closer to home, obviously, we need to keep on increasing what we can use hydrogen on. Anglo is developing the so-called hydrogen valley, which is from Mogalakwena, You can have trucks operating there using hydrogen. You can have buses running along the N1 to Joburg, then running down the N3 to Durban, with refueling stations along the way. That's why they call it the hydrogen valley. So there are quite a lot of opportunities, and I think near term, probably export to countries that are ready, such as Germany, and in the medium term to long term, developing our own internal consumption demand areas such as mining trucks and buses and so on and so forth.